99% of failures come from people who make excuses. A bad war is fought with a good mind. A man ought not to value himself of his achievements or rare qualities of wit, much less of his riches, virtue, or kindred. Arbitrary power is most easily established on the ruins of liberty abused to licentiousness. A primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important? And what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberties of the country? A sensible woman can never be happy with a fool. A slender acquaintance with the world must convince every man that actions, not words, are the true criterion of the attachment of friends. Associate yourself with men of good quality, if you esteem your own reputation, for it is better to be alone than in bad company. Anything will give up its secrets if you love it enough. Not only have I found that when I talk to the little flower or to the little peanut they will give up their secrets, but I have found that when I silently commune with people, they give up their secrets also, if you love them enough. As mankind becomes more liberal, they will be more apt to allow that all those who conduct themselves as worthy members of the community are equally entitled to the protections of civil government. I hope ever to see America among the foremost nations of justice and liberality. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. True friendship is a plant of slow growth, and must undergo and withstand the shocks of adversity before it is entitled to appellation. Be not glad at the misfortune of another, though he may be your enemy. But lest some unlucky event should happen unfavorable to my reputation, I beg it may be remembered by every gentleman in the room that I this day declare with the utmost sincerity I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with. Death, the abyss from where no traveler is permitted to return. Citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism, more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Decision-making, like coffee, needs a cooling process. Democratical states must always feel before they can see. It is this that makes their government slow, but the people will be right at last. Discipline is the soul of an army. It makes small numbers formidable, procures success to the weak, and esteem to all. Do not suffer your good nature to say yes when you ought to say no. Remember that it is a public, not a private cause that is to be injured or benefited by your choice. Every day the increasing weight of years admonishes me more and more that the shade of retirement is as necessary to me as it will be welcome. Experience has taught us that men will not adopt and carry into execution measures best calculated for their own good without the intervention of a coercive power. Experience teaches us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have got possession. Few men have virtue to withstand the highest bidder. Gentlemen, you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have grown not only gray but almost blind in the service of my country. Guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism. George Washington famously warned against ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burden which we ourselves ought to bear. Happiness depends more upon the internal frame of a person's own mind than on the externals in the world. Human happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected. Harmony, liberal intercourse with all nations, are recommended by policy, humanity, and interest. Honesty will be found on every experiment to be the best and only true policy. Let us then as a nation be just. I conceive a knowledge of books is the basis upon which other knowledge is to be built. Having now finished the work assigned me, I retire from the great theater of action, and bidding an affectionate farewell to this august body under whose orders I have so long acted, I here offer my commission, and take my leave of all the employments of public life. How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the strong, because some day in life you will have been all of these. I heard the bullets whistle, and believe me, there is something charming in the sound. I had always hoped that this land might become a safe and agreeable asylum to the virtuous and persecuted part of mankind, to whatever nation they might belong. I hope I shall possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man. I had rather be on my farm than be emperor of the world. I have always considered marriage as the most interesting event of one's life, and the foundation of happiness or misery. I heard the bullets whistle, and believe me, there is something charming in the sound. I hold the maxim no less applicable to public than to private affairs, that honesty is always the best policy. I hope, some day or another, we shall become a storehouse and granary for the world. If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. If to please the people we offer what we ourselves disapprove, how can we afterwards defend our work? Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The rest is in the hands of God. If the cause is advanced, indifferent is it to me where or in what quarter it happens. If we desire to avoid insult, we must be able to repel it. If we desire to secure peace, one of the most powerful instruments of our rising prosperity, it must be known that we are at all times ready for war. Individuals entering into society must give up a share of liberty to preserve the rest. It is a much easier and less distressing thing to draw remonstrances in a comfortable room by a good fireside than to occupy a cold, bleak hill and sleep under frost and snow without clothes or blankets. It is absolutely necessary for me to have persons that can think for me, as well as execute orders. Interwoven as is the love of liberty with every ligament of your hearts, no recommendation of mine is necessary to fortify or confirm the attachment. It is substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. The rule, indeed, extends with more or less force to every species of free government. I'll die on my feet before I'll live on my knees. It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one. It is far better to be alone than to be in bad company. It will be found an unjust and unwise jealousy to deprive a man of his natural liberty upon the supposition he may abuse it. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. Laws made by common consent must not be trampled on by individuals. Lenience will operate with greater force, in some instances, than rigor. It is therefore my first wish to have all of my conduct distinguished by it. Let us therefore animate and encourage each other, and show the whole world that a freeman, contending for liberty on his own ground, is superior to any slavish mercenary on earth. Make sure you are doing what God wants you to do, then do it with all your strength. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. Let your conversation be without malice or envy, for it is a sign of a tractable and commendable nature, and in all cases of passion admit reason to govern. Let your discourse with men of business be short and comprehensive. Let your heart feel for the afflictions and distress of everyone. Much was to be done by prudence, much by conciliation, much by firmness. My mother was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. All I am I owe to my mother. I attribute my success in life to the moral, intellectual, and physical education I received from her. No pecuniary consideration is more urgent than the regular redemption and discharge of the public debt, On none can delay be more injurious, or an economy of time more valuable. One of the expedients of party to acquire influence within particular districts is to misrepresent the opinions and aims of other districts. No people can be bound to acknowledge the invisible hand which conducts the affairs of men more than the people of the United States. Every step by which they have advanced to the character of an independent nation seems to have been distinguished by some token of providential agency. Observe good faith and justice toward all nations. Cultivate peace and harmony with all. Of all the animosities which have existed among mankind, those which are caused by a difference of sentiments in religion appear to be the most inveterate and distressing, and ought most to be deprecated. No punishment, in my opinion, is too great for the man who can build his greatness upon his country's ruin. Overgrown military establishments, which, under any form of government, are inauspicious to liberty, and which are to be regarded as particularly hostile to republican liberty. Paper money has had the effect in your state that it will ever have, to ruin commerce, oppress the honest, and open the door to every species of fraud and injustice. Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages. Some day, following the example of the United States of America, there will be a United States of Europe. Promote, then, as an object of primary importance, institutions for the general diffusion of knowledge. In proportion as the structure of a government gives force to public opinion, it is essential that public opinion should be enlightened. Real men despise battle but will never run from it. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principles. Religious controversies are always productive of more acrimony and irreconcilable hatreds than those which spring from any other cause. Speak not evil of the absent, for it is unjust. The great mass of our citizens require only to understand matters rightly, to form right decisions. Strive not with your superiors in argument, but always submit your judgment to others with modesty. The basis of our political systems is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitutions of government. The gradual extension of our settlements will as certainly cause the savage as the wolf to retire, both being beasts of prey, though they differ in shape. The great rule of conduct for us, in regard to foreign nations, is, in extending our commercial relations, to have with them as little political connection as possible. The harder the conflict, the greater the triumph. The nation which indulges toward another a habitual hatred or a habitual fondness is in some degree a slave. It is a slave to it animosity or to its affection, either of which is sufficient to lead it astray from its duty and its interest. The reflection upon my situation and that of this army produces many an uneasy hour when all around me are wrapped in sleep. Few people know the predicament we are in. The turning points of lives are not the great moments. The real crises are often concealed in occurrences so trivial in appearance that they pass unobserved. The time is near at hand which must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. There is nothing so likely to produce peace as to be well prepared to meet the enemy. We should not look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors, and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. There is nothing which can better deserve our patronage than the promotion of science and literature. Knowledge is in every country the surest basis of public happiness. To be prepared for war is one of the most effective means of preserving peace. To persevere in one's duty and be silent is the best answer to calumny. To encourage literature and the arts is a duty which every good citizen owes to his country. Those who have committed no faults want no pardon. We are only defending what we deem our indisputable rights. Truth will ultimately prevail where pains is taken to bring it to light. We began a contest for liberty ill-provided with the means for the war, relying on our patriotism to supply the deficiency. We expected to encounter many wants and distress. We must bear the present evils in fortitude. We must consult our means rather than our wishes. When one side only of a story is heard and often repeated, the human mind becomes impressed with it insensibly. Wherein you reprove another be unblameable yourself, for example, is more prevalent than precepts. Where are our men of abilities? Why do they not come forth to save their country? Worry is the interest paid by those who borrow trouble.
Thank you for watching this video till the end. We hope you found the quotes informative and helpful. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated.